You're listening to The Blind Chick, an Aftersight original podcast. We're telling you stories about strength, overcoming hurdles, and living experiences. We see who you really are. Blindness can be an adventure. Are you ready for the journey of a lifetime? We are.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Blind Chick. That's Moses Street.
And that's Penn Street. The Blind Chick. And she's the subject of my New Year's resolution.
Oh,
yeah, I've
be good.
resolved to stay together with her another 30 years.
Aw. Okay, you don't have to sleep on the couch tonight.
Oh, true. I was hoping.
Yeah, I know. With the new year, it's always crazy to me. I know resolutions are really, really popular, but I don't know. I kind of like to more like celebrate where I am versus coming up.
Yeah.
Like you always make fun, Mose. Like we always go to the gym, the first few weeks of the year and then kind of pitters out.
Yeah.
like most people. But yeah, I think we just have a lot to celebrate. 2025 was a bit rough and bumpy, but yeah, I'm feeling hopeful for 2026.
Oh, really?
What about you? Are you? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You don't get sappy like that. You don't really get into resolutions either. But
no.
For all of you out there who do, I would love to hear your resolutions. You can email them to contact@aftersight.org and share them, and we just might read them here on the podcast. So, well, speaking of, new beginnings, fresh starts, things like that, today's guest really, really envelops that. And her story is, it's an emotional roller coaster for me.
Yes.
I'm so glad she's here. But I do want to give a
And
warning.
warning.
We will be
Warning.
We will be talking about suicide on the show today. So if that's something that is too hard for you, we totally understand. Come back next week. We want everybody out there to take care of themselves, and our guest today will definitely feel that way and share that with you as well.
Yeah, and before Ashley comes on, that you reminded me, for the people, don't feel guilty if you don't want to listen, because since everybody's divorces are wonderful, and I happen to be the only one to ever go through a bad one, I thought I was over it, and I love movies. And so it had been years and years and years. And there was a movie on that we knew there was going to be divorce, but it was an action adventure, and I loved the hero. And we watched it, and I thought, yes, it doesn't bother me anymore to hear this kind of stuff about divorce in movies. And then after it was over, I got up and walked over to the bathroom, almost passed out.
Yes.
It had affected me so strongly. So yes.
Yeah.
Warning.
So take care of yourselves out there.
Take care of yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
And now we've kept Ashley in the wings too long, and she's probably left.
No, she's still there. Ashley, I know that you're a blind advocate, and you're also a public speaker on this topic. And you also call yourself a phoenix after rebuilding your life. We can't wait to get to know you better and for you to share your story. Ashley Purdy, welcome to The Blind Chick.
Thanks. You might want to take back getting to know me once you've met me, but we'll get there when we get
there.
Somehow I doubt that.
Yeah. Start with an easy one. Where are you talking to us from?
I'm currently on my couch.
No.
Or did you mean like a town?
Geographically.
Yeah. Oh. What kind of pictures do you have on the wall?
Oh, man. Hold on. Oh,
do not give your address.
No, don't give your address.
Oh, snap. Where'd it go?
We got a cat.
Is that the cat? That is the cat.
She's got a full-grown 160-pound cougar that she warned us about.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
What city?
But
or
are
state?
you okay?
Yeah,
though?
my phone decided oh, we're not going to stay here. We're going to go and dive off and see what's down on the floor. And I was like, no.
Oh, we thought it was your cat.
Yeah.
That would have been so much better because I could have just grabbed him and be like, you stay here. But no.
Yeah.
But so I'm currently in Arlington, sadly, kind of. But
As in Virginia?
no. In Arlington, Mass. It's funny when I got back in contact with my partner, I told him about being in Arlington, and he was like, "Oh, I can come and visit you and blah blah blah." And then I was like, "Yeah, it's not too far from your work." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Aren't you in Arlington, Texas?" And I'm like, "No."
Oh.
I didn't even know Texas had an Arlington. I was like,
Neither
no.
did I.
Yeah. So I was like, no, like down the street from where you work. Yeah. That Arlington.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to have to pause the whole podcast and get out my atlas and look all these Arlingtons up. So.
I had no idea. I only knew about the Arlington and right outside of DC. So
well, more.
Yeah.
So dive into the thing because is Ashley, if you could share your life before 17 and the injury, and it's kind of the arc. So people following us that if the hard to hear stuff is at the beginning, it gets really exciting as we go. So, but what was your life like before 17?
Crazy, complicated, traumatic, dysfunctional. So growing up, my mom has some issues, and her and my dad didn't get along very well. And so it was me, her, my dad, my older sister who has a different dad, my two younger siblings, Brittany and John, who have the same parents. And we bounced around a lot until we moved into the house on North Street, which I consider my childhood home because that was the longest I've lived anywhere. But shortly after moving there, my parents divorced, and then my dad started getting sick, so he taught me how to take care of my siblings, and me and him would just talk about them as the kids. And so it was one of those, the kids need this, this, and this, and it's like, okay. And so I did that. I would help him out sometimes. He scared the crap out of me, and he never did it again. He was a diabetic, and he wanted me to learn how to help him with his insulin. So I said, okay. So I got the needle ready, and he held his stomach. I stuck the needle in, and he screamed. So I screamed, and I dropped the needle, and it's hanging out of his skin. He never scared me again. I was like, why'd you do that? He was like, I was messing with you. Now it really hurts. I'm like, well, that's your fault.
Oh,
no.
Yeah. No, I definitely got my humor from my dad.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the kind of humor that Penn said I couldn't do about blindness. So,
So how old were you then at that time when you were starting to take care of your younger siblings?
Like 6 or 7, and
Oh my
Brittany's
goodness,
2
Ashley.
years younger than me. Basically 3 years because I'm in March and she's in November. And then my brother John's 5 years younger than me.
Wow.
Wait. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm trying to do math, and I'm like, oh God, wait. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, he's 5 years younger. But my dad kept getting sick, and at one point, due to my suicidal ideations coming to light, me being the one to manage the household, and a DCF worker lying to the judge, we got taken out of my dad's house. I was put in a crisis stabilization unit, and my 2 siblings went to foster care.
Oh, honey.
Wow.
Yeah. I was there for like a month, and then I moved in with my mom and my older sister, and I was there for a few months, and then I got put in foster care, and Brittany went to live with my mom and older sister. Yeah. my brother went back to live with our dad, and there was one time like a few weeks before he got custody back, where he ended up in the hospital, and so my brother came to the foster home I was at and stayed with us for a couple of days. I was like, oh, cool. But then my dad got custody of us back, and a year later he passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetie.
That would be hard.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
due to one thing or another, I've had a lot of guilt around it. Like, my brother, for the longest time, thought I killed my dad because a couple of days before my dad went in the hospital, John, my brother, he saw us arguing, and he didn't see my dad shove me. He just saw me shove my dad into the wall. And so, as like a little kid, he's only like 6 or 7. So he's like, oh,
Right.
that's why, And it's like,
Yeah.
no. And then I overheard my mom talking to, I think it was my therapist at the time, that by me finally saying goodbye to him, I gave him permission to pass away. And I'm like, so I did kill my dad. So I've been
Oh.
struggling with that for years and years. And actually, it came back into play after my incident when I was 17, because when he was in the hospital, they had no brain activity. He was a vegetable. Like, they were like, he's never gonna get better. And they said the same thing about me. And here I am. So, like, I always think, like, what if I didn't say anything to him? Would he have gotten better, or would he have stayed the same? And it messes with me.
And how old were you when your dad died?
12.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's my sister was 13 when our dad died, and I was a good bit older. But it's going back to the childhood memory. A version of that is my brother and I had pneumonia, the worst kind, and we were at my grandparents' and all the relatives were there and all that because it was it's still dangerous, but it was so dangerous. And they put us, the cure for bringing down a fever back then was putting somebody into a ice bath. And so my whole adult life, I literally remembered that as my whole mother's family were trying to kill me and my brother.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and what they were doing is we both survived pneumonia. They were getting rid of the fever because it had gotten so bad.
Yeah.
So so that's a tough one, especially when you think it's your fault. That's horrible.
Yeah. So did you guys have to go back into foster care
So
when you were 12, or did you end up back with your mom?
so we ended up with my mom. We were in her apartment for a few months before DCF was like, you can't keep them here. It's a 2-bedroom. You now have 4 kids. And so we worked it out with the landlord, and we moved back into my dad's place. And so like, we had the good memories and the bad memories, but that was like still home to us, so we didn't have a problem moving back there. I mean,
Wow.
there were some things where it was the way I was raising my siblings and the way my mom tried to do it were 2 different ways. My way worked, hers didn't, so she would just kind of let me discipline or whatever needed to be done around them. And her mom kept yelling at her, and she would be like, but it works. I'm not going to knock it if it works. And I tried teaching my mom, but she never got the mom voice. It was either she's talking or she's screaming. And I'm like, bro, you got to get that in between that mom voice, because it came to a point with my siblings. Also, I would have to go, don't make me go in there. And they'd stop whatever they were doing. It's like, I don't even gotta move. And then they'd come in, how'd you know? I got eyes in the back of my head, bro. So,
That would, that's a strange experience. I know back when I was a kid, it was not unusual for a sibling to raise the other siblings and pioneer days, all that kind of junk. But in this day and age, it's hard to imagine anybody even does that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be the
Yeah.
parent with the parent in the house,
Mhm.
not being the parent, that had to have been rough.
I mean, it was rough at certain times when she would try to parent me, and it's like, bro, you can't because you don't know what you're talking about. Or when something would happen with one of my siblings and she would try to do it one way, and I'm like, no, this is the way we're doing it. And so we'd argue like that. And so it's almost like we became a married couple arguing about how to discipline the kids.
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
Oh, and you were just a kid yourself, Ashley. I don't want to take that away because you were a kid raising kids, and it doesn't sound like you had a lot of support to be a kid. Is that
I
true?
mean, yes and no. Like, when my dad was feeling good and he was able to, take over, we were able to like play outside and horse around and, beat kids. But it's like when he was
Yeah.
sick, that's when I had to like take over,
Step up.
and
Yeah.
get stuff
Yeah.
done. But he made sure I knew how to do stuff. Granted, sometimes it would be Chef Purdy raviolis 3 nights in a row for dinner. But they got food, so
They
I'm not
did.
complaining. They weren't complaining,
Yeah.
But then with my mom, she gave me more freedom. My dad was very protective, and so we didn't go outside of the house unless he was up. And even then, it was like around the house. We couldn't go anywhere. Whereas my mom's like, just be back before the street lights are on. I'm like, okay, don't gotta tell me twice, you know?
Yeah.
So I did a lot more roaming and exploring of my hometown after my mom got custody. And that was good, but it also had its downfalls. Because like when I was 13, a little over a year after my dad passed, I had met this guy who, at the time, I didn't realize he was a level 2 sex offender. And
Oh.
so he had come over to like my house and we had hung out and stuff. He ended up sexually assaulting me. And then I tried telling my mom, but he was like standing right there, and I'm like, no. And so I told my friend, and she was like, you gotta tell your mom. I'm like, no. And it ended up coming out because we found out who he really was. And so my mom called the cops, and the cops came. And I was talking with them, and as we're talking, my friend comes in and was like, did you tell them about the rape? And I'm like, fudge monkeys. And the cop's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What is this? And I'm like, so see, what had happened was, and like when it happened, it was in the house. My mom had gone out for, I think she went shopping or something. And at that point she had trusted us, and I was like, cool, okay. But you shouldn't have trusted him. But that was one of those, I trusted him to an extent, she trusted him to an extent, so it's not like her fault, it's not my fault, it's like
Right.
the
It's his fault.
exactly. And
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we ended up going through court and stuff. I had to get the exam after the fact because we didn't find out who he was till about a week after the assault. So like any physical evidence was gone, and so was my word against his. But what's funny is after I had that happened to me, I ended up seeing a friend of mine who was 10 years older than me, and when my mom found out, she then called the cops. And so with that being said, my lawyer for the sexual assault case had to notify his lawyer, so in court he said I was the predator preying on older men. I'm like, you were a level 2 sex offender when I met you, so that's not how that works, but okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow, Ashley.
yep.
Did he end up going to jail?
I wanted to drop the charges, and they said, no, we have a good case, it's strong. If you go forward, he'll get like minimum 12 years, maximum 25. And I said, okay. He got sentenced to 2 years. He was out in 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
unfortunately that just happens over
Mhm.
and over and over
Yep.
again.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
So Ashley, what I mean, it sounds like just like trauma after trauma. And I know
No.
there was happy
Mhm.
times in there as
No.
well. But what was sort of that catalyst the day before when you were 17 and you decided to take your own life? Like what was that like?
So from after the assault, pretty much up until I was 17, I was on again, off again, self-harming. I would cut myself primarily, but sometimes I would burn myself. And I was in and out of mental hospitals. My mom had signed custody over to the state, so I was in and out of DCF homes and stuff, as well as in and out of
Right.
mental hospitals because the DCF people couldn't handle me. And I'm like, that's fun. This is your job, but okay. And so when I was 17, it was just like everything had just piled up, like the responsibility of everything I've always done. And that was 5 years since my dad had passed. And like with the it's hard because like I was in a bad relationship, and I had told my mom that this person was abusive, and she didn't believe me because she's like, you're bigger, you can take care of yourself. And then she saw it one
Mm,
day, and she was like, oh snap. I was like, yeah. So but it was just, I think it was just everything, because I've had
yeah.
like suicide attempts in the past, and I've always, for as long as I can remember, I've had suicidal ideations. Um, and I think it just, at some point, it came to a tipping point. I don't know when I made the decision. I just know at some point a switch flipped, and I was the happiest I'd ever been. I mean, I was applying to college. I had gotten accepted at Lincoln Tech. I had applied to the military and gotten accepted. And, I was going forward in life. But that we found out after the fact, it was because I was finally happy and I was able
Mm,
to do for myself. And so that's why all that stuff happened. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those like, okay, so that happened. Uh, but it was just a bunch of things that led to that night. And to this day, I still don't remember everything that happened. The doctors say I
mm.
probably won't. Like, I can remember bits and pieces. Like, I remember writing in my diary and taking off my jewelry, but I don't remember making that video for my siblings, and I don't remember taking the meds. I remember laying down and
Oh,
watching
wow.
Bob's Burgers. I don't remember putting my phone down. And
Mm,
then from then until like mid to late November, I don't know what was real and what was in my head, because I was seeing stuff and some of it made sense and some of it didn't make
right.
sense, and it was just like crazy. And um they had gotten me out of the house and into the ambulance, and no sooner did they secure the bed and my heart stopped. And so the cop ran back upstairs and started asking my mom all these questions that he had just asked
Right.
her. And she found out later it was because he didn't want her to go down and see them working on me because I had died. I was
Mm,
officially dead for 17 minutes. So with that amount of
Wow.
brain damage, as well as the anoxic brain injury, it was like,
right.
best case scenario, she's gonna be a vegetable. Well, the doctors are kind of right on the couch potato, so um, but that started a lot because no one told me what had happened after I had woken up. The doctors were saying, like, the stuff I was doing, like, when I would smile, they're like, "Oh, that's just an automatic reaction. It's not her." And it's like, I can't talk, but I'm trying to communicate. And so
So you were awake inside your body just wasn't responding.
so 2 weeks after I had gotten, admitted to the hospital, they had put me in a medically induced coma, and they had me
Right.
on, a ventilator and life support and all that, and they told my mom, like, best case scenario, she's gonna be a vegetable. Do you wanna take her off life support? And if so, do you wanna sign a DNR, do not resuscitate? And she was like, well, obviously Ashley doesn't wanna be here, so I'll sign the DNR. And they took out the tube, and like a minute or two later, I took a deep breath, and the doctors were like, "Oh shit, she's breathing."
Wow.
So
Wow.
from
So you did wanna be here
well,
after
yeah,
all.
it was kind of one of those like I didn't know, but at the same time, like I think a part of me did know what happened.
Yeah.
But from that point on, it was just trying to communicate, and so I would do stuff like, my family would say a letter, and I would blink or smile depending on if it was correct or not, because I couldn't shake my head. I thought I could, but they
Mm.
were like, "You're just sitting there," and it's like, "Oh, okay." Um, so from there, we could spell out words, and I was actually talking to them, and the doctors are like, "No, that's not her," and they were like, "Yeah, it's her." And,
Yeah.
um, like 2 weeks or a week after I woke up, I got moved to, Spalding in Charlestown, and there I started relearning to walk, and I stopped using the G tube. Um, After a while, we started slowly, like, only with my, speech therapist could I eat, like, solid food. Um, Everything else was through the G tube, and
Yeah.
it was just like, still, even then, like, almost 2 months later, no one had told me what happened, and I'm just kinda like, "Okay, I don't know what's going on, but something's different."
Did you remember before
At
the incident, or was it just you didn't remember just the incident?
So, that's the thing, like, during that time period, I can remember things before the incident, but that day, I couldn't remember. And,
Okay,
like,
got
the
it.
day before had been Halloween. So, it's like I
Okay.
kinda remembered that, but not really.
Mm.
But, like, the day it happened was just a blank at that point, and that's when the doctors, because I was kinda sorta able to talk. Have you guys ever seen, Zootopia, the Disney movie?
Zootopia?
I don't think
Okay.
so, or I don't
Okay,
know.
well,
Just a
there's
sec.
a scene where they go to the DMV and it's a bunch of sloths working, and the sloths like move really slow and talk really slow.
Yeah.
At that point in time, that's how I was talking. And, I was talking, but it was take like an hour for me to say, like, I
Mm.
need the bathroom. So it
Right.
was good people had good patience, and other people would be like, yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever. And it's like, cool, okay. Um, but I think it was there before I got moved to a different rehab that my mom, against the rehab's orders, she had told me what happened, and I was
Mm.
just kinda like, "Okay, so what now?" You
Wow.
know? And
And when I know that you didn't actually
mhm,
realize that you were
mhm,
blind for a long
mhm,
time, and that, I can
mhm,
relate to that, in my
mhm,
story, but is I think that's hard for people to
mhm.
understand, but when you what was that moment like when you realized that you were blind?
My life's over. I'm already, like, disfigured,
Mm,
like, and that on top of everything, like, nothing's gonna happen. I can't do anything for myself. And I just
mm,
laid in bed for, like, a week.
mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when did you grasp onto the metaphor about being a phoenix?
So that had actually started in the first hospital. after I'd woken up, my grandma started saying to me, like, this is your new beginning, this is your rebirth, you're getting a second chance. And at that point, I understood what she was saying, but I didn't understand why she was saying it. So, like, the more I, like, progressed with physical therapy and speech and stuff like that, and, like, my brain started working as well as it ever did, I guess. I was able to process more and start understanding, and somewhere like in there, I just started like resonating with the Phoenix, and it just kind of took over one day and became, my thing kind of thing. And I actually have a Phoenix tattoo on my arm. It's a blue Phoenix with, I think it's purple flames. It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Just a couple of questions before we go on. In the time you didn't know you couldn't see, why did you think you could see?
Because I could see stuff. Like, sometimes it was really blurry, or it was one of those, like, it's just out of sight range. But I could see colors, I could see things moving, and the doctors hypothesized, I think is the word, that
Right.
was, like, because the brain injury was so new, that part of my brain that was damaged in the overdose wasn't as damaged as it is now, so it was still trying to connect, and that's why I could see what I saw. But later, once the brain injury came more, like, settled, I guess, a couple months later, like, that all went out the window.
Right.
So.
And then one other one, just because suicide is unfortunately apparently epidemic. When you had made the comment that at the point of trying suicide, that you were happy, and there and you just kind of what, like you went into a zone where you just did everything to kill yourself and didn't even realize, wait a minute, there was no logical thought, or what was going on?
I don't think it was so much that, it was more like all the pain, anxiety, and depression that I've been holding for so long just kind of went away, because at some point I made the decision, like, I'm going to kill myself. And so it was so freeing that I was able to do things that my classmates were doing, applying to colleges, looking at getting my driver's license, stuff like that. And I was able to do it, and I was happy, I was laughing, I was joking with people, and I don't think I had, like, a lot of my bad days during that month. But then when it all came to a head, the therapists and the family workers after the fact were like, that's why she was so happy, because she had made peace with what she was going to do. And it's like, I don't honestly know when I finalized, like, what I was gonna do. Because the night it happened, I had texted the person I was with, basically not saying I'm gonna kill myself, but everything I was texting them pointed to I was gonna kill myself, and they called no one. And the next day, when my mom called me and my sister out of school, she also said to have the school check on the person I was with, and they were like, "Oh, she's already in the office." And my mom was like, "What?" And so that's when my mom knew that she had known what I was gonna do and just didn't say anything.
Wow.
Is there, I know that even sometimes your closest friends don't want to get involved with stuff, like especially because, I mean, you guys were teenagers, right? Um, was there any discussion with them afterwards about what their reason was why they didn't reach out
Um,
to let somebody know that
no, I
what
know.
was going on?
I don't believe anyone was talked to. Like, the police had confiscated my phone and my journal looking for answers, and they actually wanted to arrest me because killing yourself is a crime. And the doctor was like, she's a vegetable. She's not going anywhere. And the cops were like, okay, we won't arrest her then. And I'm like, cool. But
What a
yeah,
weird.
yeah, it was just,
Uh,
it was one of those things, like, they didn't talk to anyone that had known or could have known. At most, they had charged my mom with neglect for what had happened, because it happened in her house.
Oh,
So
right. And you were a minor,
exactly.
so
So they had charged
right,
her
right.
not with like the attempt, but like neglect or something like that, or child abuse or
Yeah.
something like that. And she was like, "This is
Yeah.
ridiculous," you know. And she fought
Yeah.
it, but I honestly don't know whatever came of it. I know the school, a couple weeks after I did what I did, they had an assembly about it, and my little sister was there, and they start talking, and she loses it, and she runs out, and her best friend goes with her, and her best friend Megan was just like, "What's wrong?" And she was like, "You know what? They're doing this, right? It's because of Ashley, and Ashley's not even here to talk for herself." And my sister
Mm,
Brittany had a complete, like, they had to pick her up from school, like, she just lost it. So
mm. Yeah,
yeah,
and
I
I
think
do
so.
wanna tell people out there that will be
mhm,
listening to this is that if you do see somebody that's in
mhm,
crisis, please say
mhm,
something, and there's lots and lots of ways
mhm,
to tell somebody and remain
mhm,
anonymous. So, um, if you tell a teacher, a pastor, a therapist, anybody,
mhm,
any adult, it's if you can't, um, if you can't I understand, like, you don't wanna call the police or maybe you don't wanna tell the school principal or whatever, but tell
mhm,
somebody.
Right.
Just tell somebody. Um,
Because I would think a teacher could be easy because once a teacher knows that,
mhm,
it's off you completely
mhm,
because they
yeah,
by
and
law have to
mhm,
say something.
yeah, and I know you can even call suicide hotlines and let them know, and then they will pass that information on, and it remains anonymous, but well, Ashley, I'm glad that you survived, and I'm glad that you're here to tell your story so that we all can learn from it. I think we all, even us, Moses and I included, it doesn't matter how old you are. You see family
mhm,
or friends or maybe a neighbor or somebody out on the street that's in
mhm,
crisis. I mean, Moses and I have done that. There was a young man outside our
mhm,
house, and it was
Yeah.
obvious he was in
mhm,
crisis. And I called the police because I didn't know who else to
mhm,
call. But they were able to come
mhm,
over and take him and get him help. And we saw him
mhm,
later, and he didn't know that we were the ones who
mhm,
called, but he was still walking around on this
mhm.
planet, which,
Yeah.
um, but Ashley, when did you, when did you hit that point where you did rise out of the ashes? Like, you use
Mhm.
I love the beautiful imagery of a phoenix coming out of the ashes.
Yeah.
And I know it's not
Mhm.
easy. It's not something that happens in a
Mhm.
moment. But how long did it take you to feel like you could take the next step into this new life?
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. Like, even today, I still have my days where it's like I'm not getting out of bed and I'm just like really low. But thankfully, I have my partner and our fur baby when he's not being a douche monkey. Um, but I think I started Perkins 9 months after the overdose, so it hadn't even been a year when I started Perkins, and I went
Wow.
to like no classes unless they were after lunch. Um, I was in a wheelchair at that point. The G tube had been taken out, thank God, and I was able to
Yeah.
use bathroom more or less on my own. Um, but I think it was like my second year there. I started.
Can you
Mhm,
back up a little? Because there's a lot of people out there who I
mhm,
know what
mhm.
Perkins
Oh yeah,
is,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but there may be people out there that don't.
So it's Perkins School for the Blind, currently located in Watertown. They have blind and then deaf blind, and they have a lower school program. I think they even start with like toddlers, and go all the way up
Yes.
to when you age out of high school. In Mass, that's 22. In Maine, it's 21. In other states, I can't remember.
And they even have adult
Mhm.
education as
Yeah.
well. Like you can learn
Mhm.
Braille no matter what age you're. And actually,
Mhm.
I've taken some
Yeah.
courses like history
Mhm.
classes and stuff. It's a really incredible school.
That was one thing, after the injury, like, my body was never the same, and my hands have, like, terrible feeling, so I physically
Mm,
couldn't feel the Braille, so I've never learned Braille.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, my old occupational therapist, she would label stuff with Braille, but it wasn't like I knew, "Oh, okay, that's, WVS for warm vanilla sugar." It was more the way it was, like, shaped kinda thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would memorize it to a specific smell, and so she never said a
Yeah.
Braille reader. She would always use the term, "I'm a tactile reader," and I'm like, "Oh, that's so
Yes.
much more
Yes.
sense." Yeah.
Yes.
So, um
Yeah.
Did you, in your recovery, just a curiosity question of, did you ever get into any holistic medicine like acupuncture or that type of thing?
um, I got a medical marijuana card at one point. Does that count?
I guess that counts.
Was
That
that yes,
counts.
I guess
I
so.
had one for a
Yeah.
while.
All right. No.
Yeah.
Was that for pain?
It was for pain, for sleep, and when I get depressed, I have, like, an eating disorder. I had a psychiatrist explain it to me. He's like, "You're borderline anorexic and bulimic." And I was like, "You can't be both." And he was like, "You either binge eat for, like, days on end, or you go 2 weeks without eating anything. You're borderline anorexic and bulimic." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough." So, you know? Thankfully that's under control for the most part, but,
Right.
um, yeah, so.
Ha.
So how did you I know that a lot of people who are blind or have low vision, they talk about over
Mhm,
helpers in our
mhm,
lives, you know.
Oh, right.
Moses
mhm.
has learned not to be one. Did you experience that, especially with your family?
My family took the approach of, like, for instance, my mom's house wasn't the cleanest, but it wasn't dirty exactly, but Perkins told her she
Yeah.
would have to clean it before I could come home, and her response was something to the effect of, "It was like this before she went blind, I'm not gonna change the way I'm living. Now that she is blind, she'll adapt or she won't," and I'm just kinda like, "Okay, mom, love you too." Um, so with that, like, at first, initially, I needed so much help that instead of just asking, my family would just jump on and start doing stuff, but the longer I stayed at Perkins, the more I was able to do for myself. I remember a
Right.
proud moment when I could finally open a soda can, and I asked my brother John, I go, "Can you grab me a soda? And don't open it." And he opens it, I go, "I'm not drinking that. I wanna open it." And so he brings me another one, and just as he's going to hand it to me, he opens it. I'm like, "I'm not drinking that. I wanna open my own soda. I can finally do it." And he's like, "No, you can't." I'm like, "Bro, bring me a soda." And he finally did. I opened it. He was like, "It took you 20 minutes, but you did it." I go, "Exactly. I did it. That's the important part."
Yes,
So they yeah, my
absolutely.
family's learned, like, over the years, the more I've learned how to adapt in my new body, so to speak. They've learned, like, when to, like, immediately jump in, when to watch me fall on my face, when to say, "Do you need help?" And they've also learned, like, when to listen. Like, she's gonna ask for help any second now.
Mm.
Any second now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that you do have to fight back
Mhm.
and it'd be kind of like tough love is let me do it. Because Penn and I, we just had a wonderful coffee 3-hour coffee break with Jim down in Pueblo.
And Jim, we know you are a big fan of the podcast, so shout out to Jim in Pueblo.
Yeah, and he had told his wife, he's in a wheelchair, and his wife was doing the I should help, and Jim goes, just go home. I can get home. And he didn't explain why. And so after the long coffee, he goes, hey, why don't you take me home? It's only 20 minutes. And so we thought, yeah, great, no problem. And so he gets over, and we've got a big camper van, and I was going to help him get into the van. He goes, no. He said, yeah, back off. He said, I can get into the friggin' van myself. And so we just stood back, didn't say anything, and he struggled.
And he did it.
Yeah, he did it. And because of that, he's got great upper body strength, where the rest of us don't.
Yeah.
So somebody help me. But no, that's really good. That's really good.
Ashley, I wanted to ask you, because again, I consider my blind and low vision community, that's not just physically around me, but I have friends all over the world, but they're my people, right? They're my tribe. I love my husband to death, my kids, my grandkids,
yes,
even my siblings, but I can't, there's certain things that they're never going to get, right? Because they're not blind or low vision and haven't, walked in my shoes. Do you feel that, did you find your people, and did you find them at Perkins, or did you find them somewhere else?
So I think I was talking about this with Bill last week. But at Perkins, I've had a whole life before I went to Perkins, and so being with a bunch of students that have been at Perkins their entire lives, they don't know what real life is, and so they haven't been through half of what I've been through, which isn't knocking them, like, thank God they haven't,
Right.
but they could never understand, so I hung out more with staff. And there was a few students that I could get to on some level of understanding, and I honestly haven't kept in contact with anyone from Perkins except a TA who has basically become my mom, which is kind of weird because I'm dating her brother. My old occupational therapist, and I think that's it. I like keep in touch with them too, and I've talked to students in the past, both that I went to school with and ones that came before me, but nothing ever really clicked because they could only understand to an extent of like the struggle.
Right.
Like I remember I was in group therapy with a bunch of them that had been, together since they were in diapers. And,
Right.
I flat out told them, I said, I don't belong here. And they were like, what do you mean? I go, I did this to myself. Not a single one of you asked to be here and be blind. And I basically asked for what happened to me. I shouldn't be here. I don't deserve to be here. And they all jumped on and was like, no, that's not how it is. And I'm like, but that's how it is. Like, I asked to be here, not maybe asking specifically, but by doing what I did, I asked for the repercussions, and that's what I got. And so it's like, you guys have genetic things or, whatever the case is, and I did this to myself. So it was always hard.
So did you build a group outside then? Like, how do you have a support group now? I mean, not a support group like therapy, but a group of friends or family that can be there when, like you talked about those dark days.
So honestly, I've turned into a hermit. since I've moved into my own place. And my current partner, like, he's trying to get me out of it, and my therapist has told me, like, you're borderline agoraphobia. If you keep pushing, you're gonna get there, and then you're never gonna leave your house. And I'm like, okay, I'll push it. But due to that, I don't really talk to anybody. Like, when me and my partner go somewhere, we're either running to the store, so we're not going to talk to anyone, or we're visiting his family. I love his mom. She's awesome. But,
Oh,
so it's like, or we're driving the hour and a half up to see my family, and like the people in the building, there's a mixture. It's elderly and disabled, and there's just a mixture. And I've never been like since I became blind, I've been more like social anxiety. When I was a kid, I would go up and talk to random strangers and tell them my entire life. And now,
yeah.
being blind, it's created this social anxiety, and so I don't like go out and talk to people. So the only friends I have are my partner and my sister. Those are the two I talk to the most, unless you want to consider Reggie when he's not being a douche monkey.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or get on a podcast with people that love hearing your story.
exactly, and my partner is really pushing for me to get a guide dog. I mean, I've wanted one since I accepted the fact that I was blind, but he's really
Yeah.
pushing for that independence. And sometimes I'm like, thank you so much, and sometimes I'm like, you're an hole. And he's like, but you gotta do them. So, and
So what guide dog schools have you looked into?
so I've talked with a couple years ago. I had applied to the Seeing Eye and Guiding Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The Seeing Eye said, due to my issues, they wouldn't be able to help me, but they pointed me to Guiding Eyes. Guiding Eyes said they would be willing to work with me. But then my application got put on hold. And then, because nothing ever came of it, they ended up closing
Oh,
my case. But since then, I've looked into Fidelco because I love German Shepherds. Like, who doesn't want one?
I
But
know.
I've had some difficulty with their admissions department. I've spoken with Freedom Guide Dogs who work with Lab, Smooth Collies, and a cross between the two. And they said
Mm-hmm.
they've worked with people with similar issues to mine, because I have some balance issues when I walk.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they said they were willing. I've also spoken with Gallant Hearts, I believe it's called, in Madison, Mississippi. They specialize in Dobermans, and like, oh my god, that would be amazing. I've also talked to I think it's now like Dogs Incorporated, but I believe it used to be like Southeastern Guide Dogs in Florida.
Oh,
I've
okay.
spoken with them,
Yeah.
and they were like, we could help you, but you may not qualify. So they were kind of like that gray area,
Mm,
apply and see what happens kind of thing. But right now I'm
yeah.
focusing on Freedom and Guiding Eyes. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I'm a guide
hmm
dog user, and I just can't imagine life without
Yeah.
without one. But my guy right
hmm
now, he's going on
hmm
12, and he's mostly
hmm
retired, as he's in a dead sleep right behind me. But I'm people keep asking me, when are you going to go get another
hmm
one? And I'm like, I don't want to go get another one until he's
hmm
done with this
hmm
world. And I don't know. I really don't know if I'll get another
hmm
one. My life is very different
hmm
now. So I don't know. But my guide dogs have given me more freedom than my
hmm
cane ever
hmm
could. Um, and there's just something magic
hmm
with the dogs that doesn't happen in any other
hmm
situation. They are a lot of
hmm
work. I've cleaned up more dog poop in my life than I would
But that's like having
like to talk
kids.
about.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But they never stop
yeah,
pooping.
true.
And but
And they listen.
Yeah,
yeah,
They actually, that's what's nice
yeah, the
about a
guide
guide
dogs
dog.
actually listen
yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
But it's that bond that you have with your guide
hmm
dog is not like
hmm
any
Yeah.
bond you would
hmm
ever have. So
Yeah.
um would love to keep track of you and see how that part of your journey goes.
And because we're hitting the end, but I wanted to get one other thing in, was when you were talking about becoming a hermit. Most of my life, I have been a extremely social person, much to the chagrin of all the people who had to listen to me talk forever. But getting old, I'm becoming a hermit, and physically I can do anything, but I just, if it wasn't for Penn, I would never go out. And so what I was going to add was listen to your partner, because Penn will say, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this," and I'm just sitting there going, "Leave my hermitage,"
Yeah.
And so we came up with a technique that she goes, "Well, think about it." And so I'll sit there and go, "Okay, I've been working in the house for 6 straight days. I really need to get out. And why not go out? What the heck?" And then she gives me that little space for it to become my idea,
Mhm.
because I also know I'm going to be going
Mhm.
anyway. Uh, but find that person, and
Mhm.
like if your partner's saying, "Let's
Mhm.
go, let's go, let's
Mhm.
go," just take a deep breath and do it,
Mhm.
because it really helps to get out.
Yeah.
It really. I've got a brother who's, well, a lot of old guys I'm talking to who won't leave the house, but like my brother is really suffering because he's physically in great shape,
Mhm.
but he won't leave the friggin' house.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No.
Well, and I do think though that it's, especially after COVID, it, because of things like this, right? Like we didn't have to have people come into the studio to record with us. The world is actually bigger now because of virtual, but I also had a little bit of a negative,
Mm.
right? Because like Moses said, you don't have that like urge, oh, I've got to go here. Well, you don't really, because you can order your groceries online. You can order an ice cream cone
Mhm.
and they'll deliver it.
Mhm.
Like the world is different now. But I do think I agree with Mose. Like you gotta find little ways to get out, and that is one thing that's freaking
Mhm.
awesome about a
Mhm.
dog, is
Yeah.
you have to get
Mhm.
up, you have to feed them,
Mhm.
you want
Mhm.
to, it's not a have
Mhm.
to, but some mornings it is a have
Yeah.
to,
Like this
but,
morning
like
or yesterday
this
morning.
morning or last night, it
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
pouring down
Mhm.
raining, and it was one of those rains. It wasn't like, "Oh, it'll stop in 5 minutes." No, it was not one of those rains, it's gonna rain all
Mhm.
night. And it's like, get your raincoat on, get your rain boots
Mhm.
on, okay, Beethoven, let's go. And he loved it, of
Mhm.
course. He loves being in the
Yeah.
rain. But what it does is I
Mhm.
get out there and I'm like, oh, oh my gosh, the air smells so
Mhm.
amazing. And listening to all the
Mhm.
sounds that the rain makes when it's hitting
Yeah.
different
Mhm.
things. And it actually turned into a really beautiful
Mhm.
thing. Um, but yeah, a dog definitely gets you out of the house.
Yeah.
And
Well, Ashley,
oh, we've gotta.
I want to ask you, we like to give our guests an opportunity to share a bit of advice or words of wisdom or something, because there's people out there all over the
Mhm.
world in different situations that are listening. What would you like to tell them?
I mean, at the point when I did what I did, my family had been hearing me talk about like self-harm and suicide for so long that they just kind of brushed it off like, oh, she's crying wolf again. But you need
Mm,
to find the people that aren't gonna take it that way, that will still take you seriously no matter how many times you say it. And, surround yourself with those people and just, you need your people, like you said earlier, you need your tribe. And maybe it's
mhm.
friends, maybe it's family, maybe it's someone you just met, but you make it and you get it to a point where for a fact when I'm feeling some type of way who you can go to, and just, it's a good feeling to know who you can go to and who you can't. And that like, it took me a long time to know the difference between someone I can go to anytime and someone who I can go to when it's convenient for them. So,
Mm,
Yeah, that to
mhm,
me, that is really important,
yeah.
and because it was, Penn and I, we keep coming up with little things to help each other, and like this last summer, uh, we had a dream trip in the spring, and life was just this summer, life was just as good as it gets,
mhm,
and all of a sudden, from my checkered past, all this stuff that evidently I hadn't been able to handle earlier in, the recovery I've gone through, um, just hit me,
mm,
and I was
Mhm.
getting really depressed
mhm,
and really upset at what I was remembering, and I just went to Penn, and I go, "I don't know where this is coming from," and we talked about it, and, that almost ended it,
mhm,
and lightened it up enough that I go, "Okay, okay, I can do this."
mhm,
Yeah, having somebody that doesn't judge, but that you can talk to and they'll take you seriously
mhm,
is super important.
yeah,
Yeah.
Ah,
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for your courage and your openness to
yes.
talk so rawly about Raleigh, is that a word?
I
So
think so.
Raleigh, I like that one. Um, but
Mm,
you just being so
mm,
raw about your story and being so
mm,
honest. I think a lot of times people kind of sugarcoat it um and that's okay, but sometimes we really need to hear that
mhm,
those truths even though they're
mm,
hard. And I know I'm sure I'm speaking for Moses as well, is we're so glad that you came through the other
mhm,
side. And
Yes,
I think you're a rock star, and I think this world is better with you in it. So
much
thank you for
better.
fighting and
Much
surviving.
people need to meet survivors and
Yeah.
survivors that are working through everything because it gives the whole world hope.
mm,
Yeah, exactly. And everybody out there, please, if you're going through a hard time and you find yourself in that darkness and you know, there is help. You can call, you can text 988, and that will connect you with the lifeline, suicide lifeline. And if you don't feel like talking or texting, you can even chat, do live chat with them. They do have a really great website with lots and lots of resources on it. And it's 988lifeline.org. They're there, 365 days out of the year, 24/7. Um, and you don't have to be at that stage where even if you are just contemplating suicide, you are feeling hopeless, you can call them. Somebody will be there for you. And just like Ashley said, sometimes it's just one person. We just need one person. That's all you have to do is one person needs to show up for you, and that could make the difference between life and death. And that's what the 988 website and hotline does. It is that one person, maybe the only person that's going to be able to show up, but they will. So I urge anybody out there who is thinking about suicide or that's in that dark place, really dark, reach out. There's somebody there for you.
Yeah.
So, um, and I want to thank Aftersight for being such a critical part of the Blind Chick show. We couldn't do it without them. Ashley was talking about circles, and we are talking about friends that are going to be there no matter what. Well, that's what Aftersight is. Check us out at aftersight.org, and we can be there for you too. And on that note, again, Ashley, thank you, thank you, thank you. Keep up the great work. You're always welcome to call us. And I'd love to chat with you more about guide dogs as well. So, and remember, everybody out there, be kind to yourself this week and find a way to be kind to somebody else. It's good for your soul.